Hi, Mary. How are you today?
Oh, I'm so fine, Jillian. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for being on today. I am excited to chat.
Yeah, me too. I
Yeah.
love I love talking about podcast and anything related to sharing our voices and visions with the world. So,
Yes.
yay.
Yes, I am all about sharing our voices and getting our message out because you'll never get what you want if you don't ask for it.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny that you said that. I've been saying that all week. I just hosted some guests here in Sedona, and it's so true. You're only going to be able to receive that which you're willing to ask for.
hmm Yes, I know our voices hold so much power. They do. So, so to
Mhm.
begin with, I would love for you to tell us about you, your business, and how your podcast ties into all of it.
Oh, absolutely. So again, my name is Mary Gooden. I'm moving into Mary Gooden Hamilton. I'm taking my husband's name 5 years. It's coming. It's happening. So I'm going to start using it, right?
Yes.
Because it's my voice. I am CEO and founder of Divine Destiny Publishing, and I am in eternal service. I'm a fully embodied channel for divine feminine Christ consciousness energy. I am in eternal service. I mean, I could wrap it all up into one big bow, and it really is all part of the big mission to restore the highest frequency of unconditional love. So as a number one international best-selling author and publisher, we use books to share voices and visions of magical humans all over the world that are sharing truth of how we came here to create lasting change in all kinds of ways, transformation and divine love. And as far as bringing this energy into podcast form, it was kind of a no-brainer. I was just telling Jillian pre-show, like for 3 years, I had been asked both physically by another human, like, do you have a podcast? Or when are you starting your podcast? And a lot of times it was in the yoga studio. I owned a yoga studio, so I was constantly sharing the message, right? Sending the vibes out, sharing the frequency. And 3 years, it really took me to finally say, I can do this. And I don't think it was about what to say. It was more about the technical aspects. And I'm one that, like, I just want to do everything myself. So literally, just like we do with our stories and our voices and everything, we get in our own way.
Mhm. Yes, definitely. Yes, I know we're our biggest stopper of doing things and half the things we worry about never happen, ever.
It's so true, right? I mean, we can make them happen
Oh
by
yeah.
thinking about them too
Yes.
much, but it's just so interesting how we can play out our circumstances. But so much forgiveness in the world because it's just what they taught us.
Mhm. Yes. How did you handle that tech side? So you had your message, but yeah, when you got into it, did you Google or how did you handle that?
I'll tell you the magical story that the universe provided for me. As I was said, I was in publishing. I started my publishing company early in 2021, and that just aligned me to wanting to be a guest on podcasts.
Mhm.
So the more I started to get my feet wet and understand Zoom, because we have this amazing evolution that took place over the last 3 years, and we had to learn how. Literally, when that happened, and I had to shut my yoga studio down, and I was like, I teach physical yoga. I was like, I've got to learn how to use Zoom because I've got to get this stuff. It wasn't that I could just shut me down and not serve. So I had to learn how to use Zoom. So that made it easy. And then shout out to my dear friend Payman Lorenzo. I got on he was the first podcast interview I did. And his podcast was Leaders with a Heart. And I went on and I wanted also to be able to connect with him and build a relationship so I could send my authors there and get my authors used to speaking on podcasts. And so he miraculously, towards the end of the year, him and I had been collaborating for 6 or 7 months. He started a class on how a challenge, like a course on launching your podcast in 3 weeks. And all those technical barriers, he kind of brought everything to the surface. And it really made me realize that I could just get on Zoom and do this thing. And I still tried to, after I even started recording 10 episodes, I still tried to put a deflection in place.
Mhm. Yes, we try to
We'll
make
talk
it more
about that.
difficult than it is.
I'll tell you about that. Yeah, I wasn't impressed with the video because, I'm so animated and I don't generally rewatch anything that I video, but with podcast, I had to. And I was watching my first 10 episodes and I'm like, these videos don't look good. Look at you. And, and I said, no. So I launched my podcast in March of 2022 as an audio podcast, and it is titled Shine Your Soul Light, sharing the voices of visionaries leading in the golden age.
That is awesome. Like, yeah, we find a way, like things come to us, like his course came to you at the right time when you were supposed to receive it. So, what would you say was your biggest fear around starting the podcast?
I feel like from a three-dimensional place, do you think anybody will even listen to it?
That was actually mine. I just did a solo episode before this and I answered all the questions I asked my guests, and that was my answer.
well, it's a big thing. Like, does anybody even, and I do this with publishing too, and we know the truth, but does anybody even care what I have to say? Yes, people don't write their books because of that. Like, they have all this juicy channeled information, but we don't release it because of the fear of being, I think, from the deepest layer, it's the fear of actually being seen.
Yeah. But then the first time that you get a message that like somebody actually was listening and like learned something from you is like the best feeling in the world. Even just one person.
So I haven't gotten that so far. I do. Actually, I'm lying. I did get that. But, I try to do that for others, knowing that, because it's that one message on that one day, in that one moment when you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, do I really want to do this anymore?
Yep. Yes. Just go back and remember that one message. Reaching one person is, one person can change the world, so yes.
Yeah. Because you never really are. You reach, once the one gets it's always going to ripple. It's always going to ripple. This is the truth. It doesn't stop rippling.
Yes. And some people are just more quiet about it. They don't reach out to you, but they're listening.
Oh, they are, aren't they? You know how I love to share that, because I share that a lot, again, with my publishing experiences. It may not be that anybody ever does say, I heard you, or I read your chapter. The one way that you can tell is how the universe gives back and how easy things become, or how you make these connections that come out of nowhere. That's how you can tell.
Yes. Yeah, I made so many great connections from my podcast, meeting new people on the podcast as guests. Yeah, it's been amazing. So how do you keep up with being consistent with your podcast? Like, I think that's the big thing. Consistency is key. Like, you gotta keep releasing your episodes.
Fun question, Jillian. You have to promise to release at least an episode a week, or set your grounds. Like, I'm releasing 2 episodes a month or whatever. And you just have to stick to that. It's just in my planner. Now, when I first started, I tried to get 10 or 15 under my belt, so I didn't feel pressure of like, oh, I have to edit and do it all right away. But I also have found, now that I've been doing it for March or so, however many months, 6 or 7 months, that if I schedule enough space from the interview, I could get the whole kit and caboodle done and ready to receive. But right, I put it in my planner, like every Sunday night I release an episode, and if I failed to get it ready, then I need to take the extra time to get it ready.
Yes, put it in your planner at the beginning of the month. That's what I do. I schedule. Well, obviously now I have to go to another building. I have to get in my car and drive now. So I have to schedule it way ahead of time to make sure I have the space available. So that's really been helpful for me. If you're check out your library.
And I did slip up a few times, and we're only human. I was like, oh my gosh, it's been 3 weeks. What are you doing?
Yep.
And what, I fell into that, maybe, I don't know if it's a trap, or into the experience of, I was doing almost 4 interviews a week. And then I got I know, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's a lot.
I felt like I was trying to get my backpack full.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, well, you don't have to fill your backpack anymore. So let it be easy, let it be fun.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people talk about batch recording, which is great if you have the energy to do the batch recording. If you don't, then it's not going to work out well.
Yeah.
Yes. And I also like to say, like, always take into considerations like the holidays that are coming up. Like, I'm taking the 2 weeks off. There's no podcast episode, like the 2 weeks around the holiday, because I want to enjoy it and not be trying to promote a podcast episode.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I blocked my whole calendar. I love that you bring that up, though. These things are important to think ahead, especially over holidays. You just don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't. There's no, this is the thing. This is your thing, right? There is no pressure coming from anywhere aside from you. So do it when you want.
Yeah.
And even to that degree, even if you have to miss a weekend, this is about the fun of it. It's about being real and finding pleasure and enjoyment in it.
Yes, have fun with it. Yeah. If it's not fun anymore, then you're not gonna want to do it at all. So do you have like a structure to your podcast? Like, is there a formal intro or do you do a new intro every time? Do you have an outro?
So I have a formal intro. Now, I'm not fancy yet. I don't have it all pre-recorded. So I just say the same thing every time. It's part of my ease and not having to figure out how to
Yes.
put something on the front and something on the back. So I have a scripted intro. Some of the words come out a little different. And then I have an intro. So I do my little intro. We take a moment of stillness and silence. And then I read, and then I announce my guest. I kind of read a little bit of their bio. And I have about 3 or 4 questions. And for me personally, I like to try to keep my episodes under 30 minutes. Yeah. I just do what I like because I like to keep myself in, like, I won't listen to things for over 30 minutes usually, but yeah, unless I'm hiking and then I can listen to the whole book on tape. But I do. I have a series of questions. I send those questions out to my guests beforehand, so they have an idea, but it all turns in very organic. So don't even play in that realm. Like, even with a list of questions, you're still going to get an organic conversation out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I usually have questions for my guests, and it's like a guideline, because once in a while, your mind goes blank and you're like, wait, what was I going to ask them? So,
right.
Yeah.
Done. We're already in this thing.
Yes. So it's good to have a reference to go to.
It's great to have an editor.
Yes, it is.
Like, to edit things out, to be able to edit things.
Yes.
So always remember that too. It's like nothing's perfect anyway, but you can always edit things out. Yes. I remember my first couple of shows, like I messed up somewhere and my mind was like, start the whole thing over. Yeah. No, don't start the whole thing over, silly.
No, just start your last sentence. That's what I always say.
That's a good tip. Yeah, just pick up that same sentence.
Yep, go from there. So are you working on any ways to start growing your podcast?
So it's so interesting and fun that you would ask me this today. No, it is. I hadn't looked at any ways of monetizing and growing in that realm. I have quite a bit of visibility just through the publishing, but a couple of people have moved towards me or have started really talking about how they're moving into getting sponsors and anchoring more into creating that aspect of monetizing the podcast and growing the audience and growing the visibility. So I don't have a lot of information other than a twinkling in my eye that, a lot of times when people come towards you with new experiences, like for me, it's like, oh, they're coming to share something with me that maybe I'm ready to step into the next phase. I use Anchor as my platform, and I know there's ways you can grow and monetize there too, but I haven't actually clicked the button.
Yes, they do have great ways. You can make an ad for Anchor and they put it right in your episode for you. So, and I know they have, I believe, a subscription membership. I forget what they call it on Anchor, but something where people pay monthly and you give them like an extra episode or something like that. So there are lots of different things to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, just depending on what you want to do, what you have the capacity to take on.
So true, right?
Yes.
Mm.
So do you have like a big goal with your podcast, or what does like the future of your podcast look like?
So I'll speak very transparent to this, just being an eternal service. My goal with my podcast is that wherever it lands, that it does what I came here to do, which is to raise the frequency of unconditional love. And so that, we talk about that. It's for eternal service. So I don't have any, it's all about using my voice and sharing my vision and gaining visibility. So whatever that does for eternal service, I enjoy doing it. I enjoy meeting people. So it's already gifted me. I'm already receiving from it. There is a funny little story behind that and how I move that energy back through humanity through my podcast is I always have flowers. Every week I'm asked to go get myself flowers. And when these flowers move on to their next shape or form, I take them up to the land of Sedona. And these flowers carry the vibrations of everything that we speak of and everything that we talk about. And most of my sharing is in a high vibration of just joy, peace, and freedom. And so I bring that frequency up through the rose flowers and I seed them back into the soil. So it really is about eternal service for me.
Oh, that's such a beautiful thing to do and a beautiful way to look at it too. Like, yes, we're already receiving so much from it, and that I just love that.
Oh, yeah, that's it's I feel like so blessed and honored to know what I know or connect with what I connect with, and to have the freedom to do to be that kind of person.
Yes. Yes. So my last question is, if you could give one tip to somebody out there who's thinking of starting a podcast, what would you tell them?
Do it. Do
To
it
do
right
it?
now. No,
Yes.
yes, seriously.
Yeah.
It's not the podcast isn't it's not the podcast that's really inviting you. It is the service of humanity that needs to hear your voice. You didn't think that it was time for you to set up a podcast. You were gifted with the invitation from other sources.
Mhm.
I'm going to get, I'll get really magical
Oh,
on
go
it.
for it.
It's not that. It's not, oh, I think I'll start a podcast. It's guided. It's time. Do it. Do it now. Work out the kinks as you go, because
Yeah.
no matter what, anything that we do that's new to us is going to feel like it has a kink or two. Doesn't matter if you're starting a podcast or mowing the grass.
Yep. Yes.
It makes absolutely no difference. So do it right now. Get on your Zoom as soon as you turn this episode off, and call your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever and record your first episode just for play. And you'll realize instantly how fun it is.
Yes. Yes. I always like to say, if your 100th episode is as good as your first, then you didn't grow or learn anything. Like, your first is not supposed to be your best episode.
Right.
Yes.
Right. No.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. Oh my gosh, I just love this conversation. Can you let my listeners know how they can connect more with you?
Oh, it's so easy. Even though I said in the beginning, I'm starting to use my newer last name, marygooden.com, MARYGOODEN.com. And that will kind of just bring you to my website. I am on Facebook as Mary Gooden. I love it there too. I don't play too much in any of the other platforms. My website will get you everything that you need to know. You'll learn so much about me, and then you can book a call and we can get on one of these fun little chats.
Yes, fun. Yes, I would definitely have that in the show notes. And
Mm-hmm.
thank you again so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Truly, it is a gift that we get to share our voices, and I appreciate you sharing mine.